So, dear students, once again, good morning to all. So, today our topic is pharmacology of coagulants. Okay. So, do anyone can answer regarding the coagulants? What is the importance of coagulants? Or what is blood coagulation? Why it is required in our body? What is the necessary of blood coagulation? Okay. So, regarding the definition, coagulation is the process, or also known as a clotting, okay, by which the blood can changes its form liquid to a gel or forming a fibrin like a thread in a damaged blood vessel, so where the hemorrhage can be occurs, so where the fibrin thread or forms or blood clot is forms, so that process is known as the blood coagulations. And regarding the coagulants, so these are the medications are agents which promote the coagulations, and these are also known as a hemostatics because the coagulants play important role in the balancing of the blood, because due to any internal injury or external injury, so there is a bleeding, there is a loss of blood is taken place, but due to presence of coagulation process or coagulants, so they are prevent the loss of the bleeding or they are involved in the balancing of the blood. So due to that reason the coagulants are known as a hemostatics. So now our question is, so what is the need of the coagulants, or what is the need of the coagulation process in our body? Because so any damage of the organs or broken of the bones or damage of blood vessel, so that is need to repair. Suppose it is the blood vessels or organ, so due to any injury the damage can be occurs, okay, so that damage, so there is need to repair the damage process or remains the, that is a need to repairing process. So that repairing process or joining of the damaged surfaces or damaged bone, so that process is known as a wound healing. So the wound healing is a process, it is helpful for to repair the damaged organ or to join the broken bones, or it is helpful for to repair the damaged blood vessels by process of the formations of the clot at the site of the damage. So these formations of clot, it helpful for to hold the both opposite end. It can hold together. It can act as a joiner. It acts as a gum. It can hold the both end where the damage can take place. So after that, so whatever the cells are present in this layer and this layer, so they are migrate into the clot surface area or inside the clot. Then day by day, so that clot become the tissue. So and that new formed tissue is helpful for to repair the damaged organ or to helpful for to join the damaged bone. So that's why the coagulation process is the most important. It is helpful for the healing process. Or also, so due to damage, the loss of the blood is taken place. So that's why, so here the coagulants, so they enhance the formations of clot, so then they prevent the loss of the blood or loss, that is prevent the bleeding. So that's why the coagulants or coagulation process are most important. If it is abnormal, if it is excess, then it was responsible for the development of the atherosclerosis. But in the normal phenomena, in the normal physiology, so these are helpful for wound healing, to prevent the loss of the blood or to prevent the hemorrhage, or it is helpful for the joining of the damaged bones. So that's why the coagulations or coagulants are the most important. So here, so what are the coagulants are there? So they are mainly classified into two types. That is the first one is a, that is the typetics are local. So these are locally applied and locally, so they are prevent the bleeding or loss of the blood. Example is adrenaline. It can be applied in the tooth sockets during the extractions of the tooth, so where, so they are prevent the hemorrhage. The concentration is 1 raised to 10,000. So that adrenaline is mixed with the 1 ml is mixed with the 10,000 ml of the vehicle. Then that solution was applied in the after the tooth extraction or removal of the tooth. So they were they can prevent the hemorrhage or bleeding. Or another is a, that is thrombin, that is a powder. It should be isolated from the bovine plasma, so it is available in the form of powder. It can apply the damaged area or cutting area to prevent the bleeding. Then another one is a fibrin. It is isolated from the human plasma or human blood. So then it is also available in the form of powder. It can apply the damages surface area to prevent the bleeding by locally. So that's why, so these are known as the local coagulants. Certain drugs are there, so they are injected systematically. Then also, so they are helpful for to enhance the coagulation process, and such drugs are known as the systematically acting coagulants. Once again, they are subclassified into two, that is vitamin K, then as well as the miscellaneous. And vitamin K, it is one of the main vitamins, or it is a fat soluble vitamin. It is required for the blood coagulations. Without vitamin K, the blood coagulation process do not occur, because vitamin K is essential for the synthesis of the clotting factor. So there are totally 12 factors are present in our body regarding the clotting factors. So those are involved in the coagulation process, and few coagulation factor, so their synthesis mainly depending upon the ability of the vitamin K. So that's why systematically administrations of vitamin K, it can accelerate the coagulation process. So regarding miscellaneous, that is a fibrinogen. So it is helpful for formations of the fibrin in the presence of thrombin. So that fibrogen can convert the fibrin, and fibrin is essential for the formations of the thread like structure. So that's why fibrin is also fibrinogen is also play important role in the coagulation process. So next one drug is a, that is the desmopressin. So these desmopressins, it can release the factors like 8 and own Willebrand factors. So these own Willebrand factors, it mainly released from the activated platelets. Then the own Willebrand factor is responsible for activations of the thrombin, and thrombin is required for the blood coagulations. So that's why desmopressin, it can enhance the coagulation process by enhancing the release of the own Willebrand factor as well as the factor 8. And factor 8 is required for the activations of factor 10. So that's why 10 factor is the main factor. It is required for the blood coagulations. And this desmopressin, it can initiate the blood coagulations by causing the release of factor 8 and own Willebrand factors. So another one drug is there, that is the adrenochrome minosemicarbazole. So this drug, it can mainly decrease the capillary fragility, or it can causes the contractions of the capillary. So due to contractions of capillary, the loss of blood or the bleeding can be stopped. So another, that is herbal drug like a routine. It can consist of vitamin C. It is also helpful for to avoid the bleeding. Especially the routine or vitamin C, it is used in the treatment of the gum bleeding, or also known as the scurvy. Then another drug is there, that is the etamicelate. So it is helpful for, or it can enhance the blood coagulation process by correcting the platelet adhesion or aggregation or coupling of the platelets. So due to coupling of platelets at the site of injury, so where the plug can be formed. So that plug is nothing but blood clot or fibrin clot. So that ethymicelate, it can improve the platelet aggregations or platelet adhesions. So then it is helpful for the blood coagulations by enhancing the release of the various coagulation factor due to platelet adhesions. So last drug is known as the, that is the tranexamic acid. It is also, it is a lysine derivative. So this was the helpful for the blood coagulation process. So these are the various coagulants. So they are helpful for the blood coagulation, that due to that they are helpful for the wound healing or repairing process or to prevent the hemorrhage. So next one, regarding the pharmacology of vitamin K. So dear students, so vitamin K is a fat soluble vitamin. Okay, so it is essential for the biosynthesis of the clotting factor. So regarding the forms of vitamin K, so vitamin K is mainly classified into three types, that is the vitamin K1, vitamin K2 and vitamin K3. Okay, so vitamin K1, it is obtained from the plants, that is known as the phytonadions. So it is the fat soluble, it is isolated from the plant, it is also helpful for the blood coagulation. So that's why vitamin K, the source of vitamin K is a plant source, then the active constituents is a phytonadions. And regarding vitamin K2, it is natural vitamin K, it is synthesized in our body itself in the gut. So already you know, so in the gut or large intestine, so where certain bacteria are present, so those known as the bacterial flora, and these bacterial flora is responsible for the synthesis of the vitamin K, and that vitamin K is known as a vitamin K2, and the source of the vitamin K2 is our body itself or bacterial flora of the gut. So regarding vitamin K3, so these are the chemically synthesized vitamin K form. So those are known as the vitamin K3. And this vitamin K3 once again, so they are classified into two types, that is the fat soluble and water soluble. Regarding the fat soluble, the examples are the menondion and another example is a acetaminophthalins. And the water soluble, the examples are menondion sodium bisulfate and menondion sodium diphosphate. So regarding the mechanism of actions of vitamin K, so vitamin K, it mainly enhance the synthesis of the clotting factors like prothrombin, and prothrombin, it is required for the formations of the thrombin in the presence of the prothrombin activator. Then once the thrombin was formed, then the blood coagulation process can be continued. So that is the role of the vitamin K. So vitamin K can accelerate the blood coagulation process or regulate the blood coagulation process by enhancing the formations of prothrombin in the liver. Then as well as factor 8, factor 9 and factor 10. So their synthesis in the liver is also depending upon the vitamin K. So here the vitamin K, it can accelerate or enhance the synthesis of the clotting factors like prothrombin, factor 8, factor 9 and factor 10. Then it is play important role in the regulations of the blood coagulation process. So next one is the regarding the general phenomena. So that was involved in the blood coagulation process. So already you have learned in the B Farm first year. So the blood coagulation process in our body is mainly having the three phases. That is intrinsic pathway occurs inside the body, and extrinsic pathway due to external damage of the organ or our body, then also the coagulation process can be taken place. So that process was known as the extrinsic pathway. And between intrinsic pathway and extrinsic pathway, some reactions or steps are the common, and those steps are known as the common pathway. So here the intrinsic pathway can started or begins. So when epithelial damage can be occurs or the collagen can be exposed. So collagen, it is the one type of fat. So they are present in the walls of the blood vessels. So due to increase the blood pressure or pressure on the blood vessels are damages, that is known as the epithelial damage, because epithelial tissue, so they are present in the lining and covering of the blood vessel and each and every organ. So due to any stress and stir or pressure, so that part was damages. So due to our entry of free radicals in our body, so those are generations of free radicals in our body due to lack of antioxidant in our body or due to polluted environment, the free radicals are generated in our body. So they are damages the organs, or they are damages the blood vessels, or they are damage the epithelial and expose the collagen inside the organ or inside the blood vessel. So this is initiation step for the blood coagulation inside the blood vessel as well as inside the organ. So due to expose of collagen, certain autokines or local hormones are released. So those are known as the kallikrein and that is HMW kinogen, that is high molecular weight kinogen. So these are the local hormones or autokines. So they are locally released where the damage can occur, and they are locally, they can show the action, and they are locally, so they are metabolized or removed from the circulation. So that's why, so this kallikrein and kinogen, so they are known as the autokines or local hormones. So due to epithelial damage or exposure of collagen, so these two factors are released, and these two factors are essential for the to beginning the blood coagulations. So due to release of kallikrein kinogen, so that factor 12 is, that is known as the Hegman factor. It is present in the blood as a inactive form. So when it can subjected to the kallikrein and kinogen, so that Hegman factor can be activated. Factor 12 becomes the activated factor 12. So then factor 12 is essential for the conversion of inactive factor 11, that is the, that is plasma thrombin antecedent factor, into, that is a factor 11 active in the presence of the calcium. So this 12 factor, it can activate the factor 11, and further the factor 11, it can activate the factor 9, that is known as the Christmas factor. It can activate factor 9. Then the factor 9, it is responsible for activations of the steward factor, that is the factor 10. Once the factor 10 was formed, means the blood coagulation process can be continued, because the factor 10 is the main factor, or steward power factor is the main factor. It can responsible for to regulate the blood coagulations. And regarding the extrinsic pathway, so due to any tissue trauma or due to chemical and physical injury on the tissue trauma can be occurs, or tissue can be damages, and tissue, they can release the one factor. So that factor was known as the tissue thromboplastin or factor 3 or coagulation factor 3. So this coagulation factor 3, in the presence of, that is factor 8, that is a stable factor, and phospholipid and glycoprotein, it can activate the factor 10. like a intrinsic pathway. In the intrinsic pathway, factor 9 can activate the factor 10 in the presence of the factor 8. That is known as the anti-hemophilic factor. Without anti-hemophilic factor, the factor 10 cannot be activated in intrinsic pathway. So that's why here the factor 8 is important. But in the extrinsic pathway, the factor 7 is important. A stable factor is important. So in the presence of glycoprotein, then phospholipids and factor 7, so this factor 3, it can activate the factor 10. Okay, and the glycoprotein, the phospholipids, so they are released from the damaged tissues because these are the component of the plasma membranes of the cell. So those factor along with factor 7, so that factor 3 can activate towards factor. And further, during the intrinsic pathway as well as extrinsic pathway, so these 10 factor in the presence of the factor 5, that is the labial, and factor 4, it is also known as the calcium. Calcium is also known as a factor 4 and calcium. So they are activate the prothrombin activators. And prothrombin activator, it can convert prothrombin, that is factor 2, into a thrombin. So once the thrombin was formed, the blood coagulations can be continued without need of factor 10 and here factor 10, because thrombin itself, it can activate the prothrombin, okay, without need of the factor 10. That is this thrombin, it can activate prothrombin. So this phase is known as the positive feedback mechanism. Once in your body, due to any internal injury, once the thrombin is formed in your body, means the blood coagulation process can be continue, because thrombin itself, it can enhance its own synthesis by activating the prothrombin activator. So that phase was known as the positive coagulation process or positive phase. Okay, so then the further the thrombin, it can convert fibrogen into fibrin. That is the fibrogen is the factor 1. Then fibrin, it can undergo the structural changes or polymerization reaction. Then it can loses the two strands of the fibrins. So due to that, in the presence of factor 30, that is the fibrin stabilizing, and calcium, the fibrin like tight blood clot can be formed at the site of the injury. So this blood clot are responsible for to prevent the hemorrhage or to regulate the wound healing process. And another process, so due to any damage, so that part become the hard. So where the platelet can be struck and the platelet can be activated. Then the platelet, it can release the own Willebrand factors. So then the prothrombin activator can be activated. Then the process can be continued. So this is the basic mechanism of the blood coagulations. If any deficiency of the factor, then the person was suffering from the, that is the coagulation deficiency disease, that is known as the von Willebrand disease, or that is known as the hemophilia. And these coagulants, so they are mainly, especially vitamin K, so they are helpful for the treatment of the hemophilia. So now we learn regarding the mechanism of vitamin K. So already you know the vitamin K, it can enhance the formations of clotting factors. It can enhance the synthesis of the thrombin. Okay, vitamin K, it can enhance the synthesis of prothrombin. Then the prothrombin, it can accelerate the formations of thrombin. That is the first mechanism of the vitamin K. And vitamin K, it can also enhance the synthesis of the factor 9. So that's why vitamin K is also helpful for treatment of the hemophilia B. And also the vitamin K, it can enhance the synthesis of factor 10. Then factor 10 is required for the activations of the prothrombin activator or formations of the thrombin. And vitamin K, it can also enhance the synthesis of the factor 7, that is the stable factor. So this is the mechanism of the vitamin K. So vitamin K mainly enhance the synthesis of prothrombin, factor 8, factor 9 and factor 10. So regarding the adverse effect, so vitamin K, it mainly causes the allergic reactions, anemia and jaundice. So these are the areas. Okay, and vitamin K, it can administered by injections or as well as it can administered by the oral routes. Then regarding therapeutic uses, so vitamin K, it is helpful for treatment of vitamin K deficiency, or it is helpful administered in the newborn babies. Then as well as it is used as a treatment of oral anticoagulant toxicity. Then it is used in the treatment of obstructive jaundice. Even it is used in the treatment of the liver disease syndrome. Also, it is used in the treatment of the hemophilia. So, dear students, the hemophilia is a genetic disorder, and here the hemophilia, it mainly classified into three types. That is hemophilia A, 80% it is occur due to deficiency of factor 8, and factor 8, it is required for the activations of factor 10 in the presence of the factor 9, or factor 9, it can activate the factor 10 in the presence of the factor 8. If the deficiency of factor 8 means, then the person was suffering from the hemophilia, so that hemophilia was known as the hemophilia A. So 80% of the old population or hemophilic patient, so they are suffering from the hemophilia A. And regarding hemophilia B, 20% of hemophilic patient, so they are suffering from the hemophilia B, and hemophilia B is occurs due to deficiency of the factor 9. And here vitamin K, it can enhance the synthesis of factor 9, so that and factor 8. So that's why the vitamin K is helpful for the treatment of the hemophilia. And another form of hemophilia is, that is hemophilia C. It is a rare disease. It is occurred due to deficiency of the factor 11. So this is the figure of hemophilia, how the hemophilia is occurs. Regarding the parents, if father is no hemophilia and mother is hemophilic, means the mother is acts as a carrier and their children. So the son, one son is free from hemophilia and doctor acts as a carrier, and another son, there is a possible that candidate was suffering from the hemophilia and daughter is free from the hemophilia. But if the father with hemophilia and mother is free from the hemophilia, so where the daughter is acts as a carrier. If the mother is hemophilic, means if the marriage with the non-hemophilic patient, means the offspring or the child is suffering from the hemophilia. If the father is hemophilia, mother is free from hemophilia, means so their daughter is, son is free from the hemophilia, but daughter is acts as the carrier. So this daughter, when they marries with the that is a non-hemophilic patient, then their son is suffering from the hemophilia. But hemophilia, it is one of the genetic disorders, so where the blood bleeding cannot be controlled, uncontrolled internal bleeding can be occurs. So that condition was known as the hemophilia, and hemophilia is one of the serious condition. So that was treated with the help of the vitamin K, and hemophilia is mainly classified into three types. So regarding the other coagulant uses, that is the fibrinogen, it is isolated from the human plasma, and anti-hemophilic factor, that is factor 8, it can be prepared by the recombinant DNA technology, and these both drug, so they are helpful for the treatment of the hemophilia and as well as anti-hemoglobin deficiency disorders. Then another drug is a desmopressin. It is the analog of vasopressin. As you know, vasopressin is a powerful vasoconstrictor, and here the desmopressin is also causes the contractions of the capillaries. Then they are helpful for to initiate the blood coagulations or to avoid the bleeding. And these desmopressins is commonly used for control the non-steroidal drug related bleedings or the induced bleeding. So next one is the snake venom. So this snake venom, it can enhance the coagulation process by stimulating the formations of thrombin, or it is also known as the thrombokinase enzyme. So this snake venom, it can accelerate coagulation process in the body. So that by stimulating the thrombokinase. Then another drug like a adrenochrome menosemicarbazole. So this drug is mainly helpful for the treatment of the epistaxis. Epistaxis is nothing but that is the nose bleeding. So due to exposure to sunlight or eating of more weeks, so when we are suffering from the nose bleeding, so that condition was known as the epistaxis. So that epistaxis is treated with the help of these drugs, adrenochrome minosemicarbazole. Then next another is the if hematuria, that is also treated. So with the help of this drug, any blood in the urine, that condition was known as a hematuria. So that is also treated with the help of the adrenochrome menosemicarbazole. Then also this drug is used for treatment of the secondary hemorrhage from the wound. Then next one is the routine. It consists of rich of vitamin C. So that is helpful for treatment of or used the treatment of the gum bleeding or scurvy. Then last drug, that is the etamasalate. So it can correct the platelet addition. So that's why it is used in the treatment of epistaxis, hematuria, or uncontrolled hemorrhage during the menstrual cycle. That condition known as the menorrhagia or bleeding after tooth extraction. So where also etamasalate, it is used as a coagulant for treatment of the or to control the bleeding or hemorrhage. So next last drug, that is the tranexamic acid. It is the derivatives of lysine. So it is used for the treatment of the to prevent the oral bleeding, or also it is used in the treatment of the hemophilia. So these are the common uses of the other anticoagulants. So the main drug is a vitamin K. But nowadays, so this tranexamic acid and desmopressin, and in a serious condition, there is empty hemophilia factor, they are used for treatment of the coagulation deficients, or so they are used as a coagulant drug to prevent the excess loss of the blood.